Chapter 193. That night, Rong Xiu slept beside Chu Luiyue as usual and hugged her for the entire night. Chu Luiyue felt a little awkward at first, but to no avail. She could only let him do as he pleased. However, she fell asleep very quickly, perhaps because she had overdrawn her energy. On the other hand, Rong Xiu hugged her and spent the night energetically. The next morning, when Chu Luiyue woke up, Rong Xiu had already left. She had a good sleep, and the feeling of exhaustion in her body had already dissipated. She had completely recovered. She thought that she would need to rest for a few days, but now, it seemed that she didn't need to. Chu Luiyue walked to the window and looked at Yifeng Courtyard thoughtfully. At this moment, Yifeng Courtyard's door was locked. It was obvious that no one was there. She frowned slightly. What could have happened that made Rong Xiu leave so urgently? On the way, Chu Luiyue could clearly feel that the atmosphere in the academy seemed to have become much more tense. The Qingjiao competition was just around the corner, and everyone wanted to do well in the competition. It was no wonder that everyone was so excited and looking forward to it. Chu Luiyue went to Liao Zhongshu's residence alone. He was the only one left living here, and it seemed especially cold and cheerless. Chu Luiyue pushed the door open and entered. She immediately saw Liao Zhongshu lying lifelessly on the bed. She didn't wake him up when she entered, and his eyes were still tightly shut. Chu Luiyue walked to the bedside and took his pulse. She frowned deeply. Although she had given Liao Zhongshu some medicine previously, the effect was limited. Now that the medicine had almost worn off, the poison in his body could erupt at any time. His primordial energy was greatly damaged, and it was difficult for him to hold on. Chu Luiyue called out to him. Liao Zhongshu, wake up. The person on the bed didn't respond. She gently pushed him. After a while, Liao Zhongshu slowly woke up. However, his complexion was even worse than a few days ago. His eyes had also become dim and lifeless, as if he would stop breathing at any moment. Seeing that it was Chu Luiyue, Liao Zhongshu's eyes flickered, and he struggled to get up. But how could he have any strength left? Chu Luiyue pressed on his shoulder. Don't move, just take the antidote. As he spoke, he passed the pill over. Liao Zhongshu was shocked when he saw that it wasn't a medicinal soup, but a pill that could only be refined by a real celestial physician. This is the antidote you asked for? His voice was very weak. If it weren't for Chu Luiyue's sharp hearing, he probably wouldn't have heard it. Chu Luiyue paused and did not deny it. Yes. Liao Zhongshu did not suspect anything and swallowed the pill. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, and a gentle yet majestic power immediately spread through his body. After taking the antidote, the remaining poison will be expelled within a day. However, your body has suffered too much damage. You still need to rest for about a month before you can fully recover. Liao Zhongshu looked at Chu Luiyue gratefully. I don't know how I can repay you for your kindness. Chu Luiyue shook his head and said, this matter is not related to you. Speaking of which, this matter is also related to me. It's just that they attacked you first. Curing you is what I should do. A look of horror flashed across Liao Zhongshu's eyes. I don't know who's behind this, so I need your help now. Liao Zhongshu nodded vigorously. Zhongshu will definitely help you without hesitation. Chu Luiyue briefly told him about how he bumped into Chu Xianmin, but he did not say that he made the pill himself. He only said that he took it from Chu Xianmin. So, you can't let others know that you've recovered during this period. Just tell them that you're hanging on to life with some medicinal soup. If the other party suspects something, they'll definitely appear again. That way we can lure them out. Liao Zhongshu understood. I understand. Don't worry. I won't go out during this period. I'll just pretend that I'm still poisoned. And you can use this time to recuperate. Other than helping you clear the poison, this pill can also nourish your body. However, I'll still have to trouble you. Liao Zhongshu smiled. It's all because of you that I'm still alive. How can this small matter be considered trouble? Don't worry. If anything happens, I'll tell you immediately. Chu Luiyue heaved a sigh of relief. Time passed day by day, and it was the day before the Qingjiao competition in the blink of an eye. The other two academies had already arrived, and the imperial city became increasingly lively. Wutong Palace, the palace. Emperor Jianghu and the Empress were eating. The palace was very quiet. The Empress looked up at Emperor Jianghu from time to time, wanting to say something. Today was the first time that Emperor Jianghu had stayed with her in a while, so she was very happy. She wanted to plead for the crown prince, but she was afraid of making Emperor Jianghu unhappy. She previously asked Chu Shao to plead for the crown prince, but he was harshly reprimanded. Thus, she didn't dare to act rashly until now. Just say what you want to say, Emperor Jianghu said lightly. The Empress hesitated for a while but still spoke. Your Majesty, the Qingjiao competition is about to start. Do you want the crown prince to return to the academy and participate in the competition? Emperor Jianghu's gaze turned cold. You really want to plead for him? The Empress hurriedly said, Your Majesty, I'm not doing this for the crown prince. I'm doing this for you. This Qingjiao competition concerns the country's reputation. If Tianlu Academy loses, you'll lose face too. Seeing that Emperor Jianghu's expression was solemn, but he didn't interrupt her, the Empress felt more at ease. Especially since the Qingjiao competition is being held in the imperial city this year. If we lose, won't it look even worse? The crown prince is in the wrong, but he's young and impulsive. Are you really not going to forgive him? Other things aside, there aren't many people in Tianlu Academy who can compare to the crown prince. Do you think you can let him atone for his mistakes? Emperor Jianghu rubbed his glabella. Actually, his anger had dissipated quite a bit during this period. Besides, he had also thought about what the Empress said. Since you've spoken, I'll give the crown prince a chance. The Empress hurriedly knelt and thanked him. Thank you, Your Majesty. Emperor Jianghu didn't want to say anything else, so he asked her to stand up. How far he can go is his own business. How's Zhenzhen doing? The Empress's smile faded, and a tinge of sadness appeared between her brows. Ever since Zhenzhen's pearl of essence was destroyed, she's been very sad. She's been staying in her bedroom all this time and refuses to come out. Your Majesty, you know that Zhenzhen used to be very outstanding in all aspects. Now that she's suffered such a blow, she's naturally upset. When I went to see her, I saw her secretly crying a few times. As the Empress spoke, she also started crying. Emperor Jianghu sighed. It wasn't that he didn't love his daughter. How could he not feel upset when he heard this? It's not a solution to be like this all the time. Forget it. Go and tell her that when the Qingjiao competition starts, I'll find another celestial physician for her and see if they can help her. The Empress wiped her tears and said gratefully, I'll thank Your Majesty first. Then this concubine will thank Your Majesty on behalf of Zhenzhen. Love Network provided a better reading experience. Chapter 194. After dinner, Emperor Jianghu stood up to leave. The Empress was shocked. Your Majesty, aren't you staying here today? Emperor Jianghu's expression was calm. It's almost October. The Empress's heart skipped a beat, and she felt complicated. October. It was nothing to others, but it was special to Emperor Jianghu. This was because concubine one had died in October. All these years, Emperor Jianghu's mood would be especially gloomy around October, and he would never stay with the concubines in the palace. It wasn't that she didn't know about this rule, but Emperor Jianghu had promised to let the crown prince out and to find a celestial physician for the fourth princess. She was so happy that she forgot about it. Your Majesty, please forgive me for my negligence. The Empress lowered her head and hid the hatred that flashed across her eyes. Emperor Jianghu waved his hands. Go and see Zhenzhen. After saying that, he lifted his foot and left. The huge palace fell silent again. The surrounding servants bowed their heads and didn't dare to make a sound, afraid of offending the Empress. In the palace, everyone knew that although the Empress was the head of the 6 palaces and had the most distinguished status, she couldn't even compare to Consort Wan, who only appeared briefly. There was a place in His Majesty's heart that no one else could replace, including the Empress. It was fine normally, but today, it was like slapping the Empress in front of everyone. After a long and torturous silence, the Empress took a deep breath and looked up again. She had regained her usual dignity and dignity. I'll go and see the fourth princess. Once the Empress reached Rong Zhen's bedroom, she saw a group of servants kneeling outside. They all looked pained as if they were suffering great torture, but they didn't dare to make a sound. Rongzhen was sitting at the entrance of the bedroom and looking at these people fiercely. When she saw the empress, panic flashed across her face, and she hurriedly stood up. "Mother, why are you here?" The empress frowned. "Your father asked me to come and see you. What are you doing?" She took a closer look and smelled a faint scent of blood. Rongzhen hurriedly said, "Didn't you set it up? They just made a mistake, so I'm just punishing them." The empress didn't believe it and looked at the palace servants. "All of you, get up." The person in front tried to stand up, but the moment he moved, he fell to the ground. He hugged his knees and wailed. Only then did the empress realize that the man's knee was pierced with rusty nails. She quickly looked around and found that the others were doing the same. She suppressed the anger in her heart. "Everyone go back and rest. This consort will send someone to treat your injuries. Fourth princess has been in a bad mood recently, so it's inevitable that her temper is a bit irritable. However, this consort does not wish for anyone to know about this matter, understood?" Everyone hurriedly responded and helped him down. The empress looked at Rongzhen. "Come in with me." Rongzhen knew that she was in the wrong, so she could only follow him in. After the door was locked, the empress finally spoke with a sullen face. "What the hell are you doing? How many times have I told you not to do this again? What would your father think if he knew?" Rongzhen looked away. "Imperial father doesn't care about my life anymore. I'm just a cripple now, so why would he care about me?" The empress suppressed the anger in her heart. "Your father has already agreed to help you find a celestial physician when the Qingjiao competition starts. Even if they can't do anything, the envoy from the Tianling dynasty is already on his way. He'll be able to treat you then. You must make your father's heart ache for you now, not hate you." Rongzhen was shocked. "Really? Of course. Also, more importantly, your father has already agreed to let your brother out. As long as he can shine at the Qingjiao competition, he'll definitely be valued by your father again. At such a crucial time, you mustn't cause trouble." Rongzhen's expression changed and she hurriedly said, "I understand. I definitely won't let you worry." As she spoke, she carefully leaned over and hugged the empress's arm. "I knew that mother treats me the best." Even though the empress was angry, her heart still ached for her daughter. She caressed her hair and persuaded her. There might be a way to treat a damaged pearl of essence. Look at Chu Luiyue. She was born with a damaged yuan meridian, but didn't she recover it now? Upon hearing this, a thought flashed across Rongzhen's mind. "That's right. Mother, how could we forget about this?" She excitedly shook the empress's arm. Back then, didn't all the celestial physician in country Yaochen say that Chu Luiyue's yuan meridian couldn't be repaired? But not only did she recover, but she even became a genius. "Mother, there must be a problem with Chu Luiyue." The empress slightly knitted her brows. "You mean, why don't we find Chu Luiyue and ask her how she recovered? I'm guessing that there must be a mysterious master behind her. If she calls that person over, I might be able to be cured." "What you said makes sense. I didn't think of that before." The empress was deep in thought. "But we don't have a good relationship with Chu Luiyue. She might not agree to this." Rongzhen didn't think much of it. "So what if she doesn't agree? She's just the daughter of the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief. Is she not going to listen to us?" The empress was a little hesitant. She remembered that Chu Luiyue's relationship with Zhenbao Pavilion wasn't simple. "We should be more careful about this. Why don't you follow me to the Qingjiao competition tomorrow and talk to her about this? It'll be best if she's willing to help." "If not," Rongzhen sneered. "It's not up to her to refuse." Chapter 195. Imperial City. It was autumn and the weather was refreshing. The annual Qingjiao competition started under everyone's fervent anticipation. The Qingjiao competition was jointly organized by the three countries, and it was very prestigious. Those who could come here were the top geniuses of their respective countries. Hence, not only could the crowd watch exciting competitions at the Qingjiao competition, but they could also see the geniuses compete with each other. This wasn't just a competition between the three academies. It was also a hidden competition between the three countries. Especially since this year's competition was held in country Yaochen, everyone in Tianlu Academy put in their best effort and planned to achieve the best results in the Qingjiao competition. Early in the morning, other than a small number of people who stayed behind to guard the academy, the rest of the people gathered together and headed to Jiangnan Square in the imperial city. Jiangnan Square was one of the most famous squares in the imperial city. It took up a lot of space, and it was personally supervised by Taizu, who founded country Yaochen. Many important competitions in the imperial city were held here. Naturally, this place was chosen for this year's Qingjiao competition. After Chu Luiyue arrived with the rest of the academy, he was quickly arranged to sit in a specific area. After settling down in his seat, Chu Luiyue then had the chance to carefully size up the huge Jiangnan Square. The square was circular, and in the middle was a huge arena made of white marble. It was surrounded by rows of seats. At a glance, it could accommodate at least 10,000 people. At that moment, those seats were densely packed with people. The entire square was very lively, and the sounds of discussion could be heard. Chu Luiyue and the rest's seats weren't at the edge but beside the square arena. Chu Luiyue especially took a look at the purplish gold seat in the east. The other three directions had rows of green wooden seats. It was obvious that the purplish gold seat was reserved for Emperor Zhuan. Normally, Emperor Zhuan wouldn't show up during the preliminary round. He would only appear during the finals. The seat was placed there to show respect for Emperor Zhuan. Everyone knew that Emperor Zhuan definitely wouldn't come on the first day, so the atmosphere in the square was very lively and relaxed. The green wooden chairs in the other three areas were obviously reserved for the respective academies. The elders and teachers of the academy sat in the first two rows. From the third row onward, the students were seated, and this order, from the front to the back, was based on the number of years. Chu Luiyue and the others were freshmen, so they naturally sat at the back. As for the freshmen' seats, they were very particular. The celestial physicians sat at the front, while the warriors sat at the back. Chu Luiyue sat in the middle of the mystic cultivator area. Sitting at the very front was a young man. The young man looked to be no more than 15 or 16 years old. His features were delicate and pretty, and his skin was excessively white. Under the light of the sun, it even seemed a little translucent. His expression was distant, and there was a faint cold and arrogant aura around him. Needless to say, that young man should be the most talented celestial physician among the freshmen, Meng Zixiao. Meng Zixiao was not from the imperial capital. He came from an ordinary background, but his talent was excellent. He was highly regarded in the academy. It was said that he was very diligent. Chu Luiyue had been in the academy for so long, but today was the first time she saw him. Of course, the celestial physician students were somewhat arrogant. They cultivated in different places, so it was not easy to meet them. As if sensing her gaze, Meng Zixiao, who was quietly watching the competition, suddenly turned around. The two of them looked at each other. Chu Luiyue nodded politely, but Meng Zixiao's expression changed slightly. It seemed a little probing. Chu Luiyue was taken aback, but she saw that Meng Zixiao had already turned around. "Hey, Luyu, you know Meng Zixiao?" Xiyang could not help but ask. Chu Luiyue shook her head. "I don't know him." "Then why is he looking at you so strangely?" "He's Teacher Zhuorong's disciple, and he's the most promising celestial physician in our cohort. He's usually very arrogant." Hearing Zhuorong's name, Chu Luiyue had a guess. Could it be that Teacher Zhuorong told Meng Zixiao about her going to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion? That's why he has such an attitude? Chu Luiyue was thinking when a deep and powerful voice suddenly sounded. "The Huaitsang Nation's Nanfeng Academy has arrived." This voice contained force, and it reverberated throughout the entire square, clearly falling into everyone's ears. There was a commotion as everyone looked in that direction. They saw a majestic group walking in from the entrance of the square. They were wearing navy blue academy uniforms, and there were 3 white lines embroidered on the left side of their chests. The person leading the group was an elder who looked to be in his 50s or 60s. His hair was white, but he was hale and hearty. Especially his eyes, which were not cloudy like an ordinary elder's. Instead, they were very clear. It was obvious that his cultivation was very high. Sun Zhongyan immediately went forward to welcome him. "Ha! Brother Yunshan, you're finally here." Fu Yunshan's face was also filled with joy. "Brother Zhongyan, long time no see. How have you been?" The two of them greeted each other and seemed to be very friendly with each other. "I heard that you arrived in the Imperial City yesterday. I wanted to visit you personally, but I thought that you must be tired from the journey, so I didn't disturb you." "Brother Yunshan, you don't mind, right?" "Ah, of course. Hey, why don't I see Elder Yi today?" "The dean is in seclusion and hasn't come out yet. So, I'm in charge of everything in the Qin Jiao competition." "I see." A tinge of disappointment flashed across Fu Yunshan's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. "Brother Yunshan, your seats are over there." "Please," Fu Yunshan laughed. "Brother Zhongyan, you're always reliable. Shall we go over first?" Okay. Sun Zhongyan immediately nodded. Only then did Fu Yunshan bring the students to his own school. They had just sat down when the voice sounded again. "Country of Xingluo's Tai Yen Academy has arrived." The square, which had just quieted down, became lively again. Chu Luiwei looked around in confusion. Why do I feel that the square is livelier than before? With a cursory glance, one could see the unconcealable excitement and anticipation on many people's faces. Even the people around her seemed a little excited. She looked at Si Yang and asked softly, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Is there something special about Tai Yen Academy?" "You don't know." Si Yang widened his eyes. "I heard that Country Xingluo's #1 beauty and Country Xingluo's eldest princess, Situ Xingchen, is among the students from Tai Yen Academy today." As he spoke, he turned back to look and raised his hand to point. "There, that's the one. The prettiest girl standing at the front." Chu Luiwei followed his gaze and saw a beautiful and pure girl. She was very charming. Even though she was standing in the crowd, she could still attract everyone's attention. Si Yang looked at her for a while and couldn't help but turn around to look at Chu Luiwei and laugh strangely. "Hee, Luyu, everyone says that Country Xingluo's eldest princess is devastatingly beautiful, but I think she's still lacking compared to you. If you dress up, you'll definitely be able to suppress her." Chu Luiwei glanced at him and wasn't interested in this at all. But the next moment, she suddenly turned around and looked at Situ Xingchen with narrowed eyes. Situ Xingchen's sleeves were embroidered with the same cloud pattern as Rong Xiu's. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 196. Patterns like cloud patterns were actually not rare. This was especially so for a member of the royal family. Given their esteemed status, it was not a big deal for their clothes to be embroidered with cloud patterns. However, the key point was that the cloud patterns on Rong Xiu's sleeves and the corners of his clothes were different from ordinary cloud patterns. Although they were called cloud patterns, in reality, the lines were blended and the patterns were layered. From a certain angle, it looked like blooming peach blossoms. When Chu Luiwei had first noticed it, she had asked Rong Xiu about it. At that time, Rong Xiu had said that he had drawn the pattern himself and had someone specially embroidered it for him. In this world, there was only one such family. However, she had not expected that such a cloud pattern would appear on another person's clothes. Even if Chu Luiwei wanted to treat it as a coincidence, she could not. That was because she had clearly seen that the pattern was exactly the same. She raised her eyebrows, retracted her gaze, and asked casually, seemingly unintentionally, she asked, "You seem to be quite familiar with this eldest princess? How is that possible? I've never been to Star Luo Nation. It's just that this Princess Royal's reputation is too great." Si Yang pursed his lips. "You've seen it for yourself. This appearance, this bearing, it's indeed a rare sight. Most importantly, her innate talent was also extremely outstanding. I heard that she is only 16 years old this year, but she has already broken through to become a third-grade doctor. She only needs to take one more step and she will become a real heavenly doctor. This is the only princess of Star Luo Nation, the most pampered pearl in the palm. In the past few years, her reputation has been growing, and countless people have fallen head over heels for her. However, This eldest princess doesn't seem to care about these things. So many people have asked to marry her, but all of them have been rejected. I really don't know what kind of person can win this beauty's heart in the end. Chu Luiyue looked around casually. Sure enough, she saw that many youths' eyes lit up when they saw Situ Xingqian. She thought about it and suppressed the strange feeling in the bottom of her heart. At this moment, Sun Zhongyan had already stepped forward to welcome them. Brother Cheng Han. The leader of the Super Yen Academy team was also an old man with white hair and a sage-like demeanor. When he saw Sun Zhongyan, a warm smile appeared on his face. Brother Zhongyan, long time no see. You look even more elegant than before. Ha! Brother Cheng Han, you're too kind. It must have been hard for you to come from afar. Please come in. Cheng Han waved his hand and had the people at the back go to their academy seats, while he chatted a little more with Sun Zhongyan. Elder Yi is often elusive these few years. Now, even at this young elite's gathering, it's hard to want to see him. Martial uncle has always been like this. Brother Cheng Han, you know as well. Elder Yi is in closed seclusion so frequently. I presume that he's going to break through again? Ha, Martial uncle never mentioned this matter. It's hard for me to say either. Actually, the young elite's gathering these few years has been Brother Zhongyan Yu, in charge of the Sky Foothill Academy. Elder Yi is rather free and easy, simply becoming a hands-off boss. I presume that in the future. Sun Zhongyan interrupted his words with a smile. Brother Cheng Han, it's hard to say what will happen in the future. Everyone has already waited for a long time. Why don't we hurry up and start? Cheng Han was taken aback for a moment before chuckling. Good. I presume that the children are also itching to start. Finishing, only then did he walk to the Super Yen Academy's seat and sit down. Sun Zhongyan still had a smile on his face, but the depths of his eyes carried some iciness. Southwind Academy's Dean Fu Yunshan, as well as Super Yen Academy's Dean Cheng Han, were actually of the same generation as him, while Yi Zhiding was one generation higher than them. Fu Yunshan was nothing much, but this Cheng Han relied on his strength continuously breaking through these few years and became increasingly rampant. Earlier, he even dared to discuss Yi Zhiding in front of so many people, and even hinted that he, Sun Zhongyan, wanted to replace him. He clearly did not have any respect for their Sky Foothill Academy. Chu Luiyue narrowed his eyes as he watched from below. These people from Super Yen Academy seemed to be very ostentatious. Of course. Last year, their academy obtained the best results. Naturally, they are very arrogant and haughty. That Cheng Han is their dean, and I heard that he had already broken through to become a level 5 heavenly doctor last year, and is on the same level as our dean, so his attitude towards old Sun is naturally lacking. Si Yang explained in a low voice. Chu Luiyue nodded in understanding. No wonder. Originally, Cheng Han and old Sun and the others were of the same generation, but now that he had the strength to compete with old Yi, he naturally did not care about old Sun and the others. He looked amiable on the surface, but in reality his words and actions revealed a sense of arrogance. From the looks of it, he seemed to want to have a spar with old Yi. This Cheng Han is also Situ Xingqian's master. I heard that Situ Xingqian had just entered Super Yen Academy this year, but was highly regarded. Now, she is one of the top geniuses in their academy. I heard that even her senior brothers and senior sisters might not be a match for her. I'm afraid that this time, she is not here for the title of first place. The competition of the youths was not divided into different categories. All the students were divided into 3 categories based on heavenly doctors, Shen masters, and martial artists. In other words, as long as one was a martial artist, one could participate in the martial artist competition. Their opponents could be the same batch of students from the opposing academy, or students from other batches. In this competition, the new students were at a disadvantage. However, being able to gain some battle experience was more beneficial than detrimental to them. Therefore, even if they knew that it was difficult to get a good name, the new students were eager to try. After Si Yang finished speaking, he looked at Chu Luiyue's indifferent expression and could not help but ask, "Why aren't you shocked at all? What's there to be shocked about?" Chu Luiyue's eyes widened slightly. She is a new student, but she already has the strength to match up to her senior brothers and senior sisters. Chu Liwei could not help but laugh. The cultivation of heavenly doctors is unique. What kind of strength one could possess was mainly determined by one's talent and nothing else. Moreover, those senior brothers and senior sisters in the academy are only 1 or 2 years older than her. An extra 4 or 5 years is not a huge advantage for the cultivation of heavenly doctors. Really? Si Yang was skeptical. How do you know so much about it? Chu Liwei glanced at him. Si Yang suddenly remembered that this person in front of him had also passed all 3 examinations back then. In that case, it was normal for Chu Liwei to have some understanding of heavenly doctors. However, he heard that her talent in heavenly doctors was not very high, so she chose to be a mystic teacher in the end. Sai, who cares? We're not participating in the heavenly doctors competition anyway, so there's no point in caring so much. Let me tell you about some of the more powerful mystic teachers. On the other side, after Sidu Xingchen took her seat, she quickly scanned the surroundings. However, she did not see the person she wanted to see. Her heart, which had been beating wildly, gradually calmed down. She retracted her gaze in disappointment and sighed softly. It made sense. He would definitely not come to such an occasion. He probably had no interest in this youngsters' gathering. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 197. Xingchen, what are you looking at? Cheng Han couldn't help but ask when he saw Situ Xingchen sizing up her surroundings. HM? Oh, nothing. It's my first time at the Qingjiao competition, so I'm a little curious. Situ Xingchen quickly hid the disappointment in her eyes and smiled at Cheng Han. Cheng Han didn't suspect anything and laughed out loud. It's normal to be curious. When the competition starts, you'll naturally know what's going on. This time, I have high hopes for you. Don't worry, Master. I'll definitely do my best. You have top-notch talent, so I'm naturally not worried. Cheng Han was very confident, as if he had already predicted that Situ Xingchen would obtain the best results in the end. Situ Xingchen smiled and nodded as she suppressed her thoughts. Sun Zhongyan stood in the square and cupped his hands at the crowd. I'm Sun Zhongyan, Tianlu Academy's elder. I'm in charge of the Qingjiao competition today. The competition order will be the same as before. Warrior, Xian Master, and Celestial Physician. His deep and powerful voice instantly reverberated in the square, causing the originally heated discussions to subconsciously quieten down as they looked at him seriously. The competition rules will be the same as before. The 3 academies will challenge each other. Everyone, please take a look at the 3 boxes placed in front of the 3 academies' respective areas. The words Celestial Physician, Xian Master, and Warrior are written on the 3 boxes. The names of the students participating in the competition are in each box. However, to be fair, the names in each box aren't the names of the students from the respective academies. He pointed at Tianlu Academy. Tianlu Academy's box contains the names of Tai Yen Academy's students. The students participating in the competition will randomly pick a name, and the person they pick will be the competition's opponent. The crowd was in an uproar. Isn't this the same as letting Tianlu Academy's students challenge Tai Yen Academy's students? Sun Zhongyan lowered his hands and waited for the crowd to quieten down before continuing. Similarly, Tai Yen Academy's box contains the names of Nanfeng Academy's students. The box before Nanfeng Academy's is naturally Tianlu Academy's. The crowd discussed fervently. No matter what, this method sounded very fair. The loser's name will be taken out of the box, and the winner's name will be placed back into the box. The competition will continue until the final ranking is decided. Chu Liyuez with his arms crossed. If that's the case, wouldn't the person who won the competition be drawn a second time, a third time, or even more? The closer it was to the end, the more it was a messy competition. It wouldn't be easy to get first place. Si Yang. That's right. That's the competition's orders at is it, who's at it, the, est how many times use. 1, s is at, us, he's at, est es yang at, s. Actually, this competition isn't that serious. There was a fixed amount of time for each day's matches. Generally speaking, a person would only have one match a day. Even if they won and got picked, they would still have time to recover. Of course, that's only if you're not seriously injured. If you're really beaten to a pulp, you might have to withdraw from the competition. The Qingjiao competition has always been fair. Killing is not allowed. You can rest assured about that. When Chu Luiwe heard this, she did not comment. Killing was not allowed, but there were countless ways to make one's life a living hell. The Qingjiao competition affected the reputation of the various academies and even the country. How could it be so easy? While the two of them were talking, Sun Zhongyan had already walked to Nanfeng Academy's area and stood in front of the martial artist box. I'll personally pick the first person to fight in the first round. Then he put his hand into the box. Everyone's attention was focused on him. The martial artist students from Tianlu Academy and Taiyan Academy held their breaths as they waited. Please don't pick me. Please don't pick me. Please. Please don't pick me. For the first round, I think it's better for me to pick someone stronger. Before Sun Zhongyan could pick a name, Chu Luiwe heard all sorts of soft prayers behind her. She could not help but turn around to take a look. As expected, she saw many people's faces saying, "Please don't pick me." She thought about it for a moment and quickly came to a realization. The meaning of the first round was very different. If she could win beautifully, it would be a great honor for herself and the academy, and it would boost everyone's morale. However, if she lost, she would definitely be criticized. Therefore, the pressure naturally increased exponentially. The older students who were stronger were fine, but most of the new students were uneasy and worried. Over at Taiyan Academy's side, the crowd stared closely at Sun Zhongyan's actions. I heard that the strongest person in their academy is Country Yao Chen's crown prince, Rong Jin. He's indeed here today. It's fine as long as it's not him. How can it be so coincidental? There are more than 100 people from their academy participating in the warrior competition. How can Rong Jin be the first to be picked? Hee, so what if he's picked? We have strong people too. If it doesn't work out, we can slowly deplete their strongest person's strength. Isn't that great? That makes sense, ha. Sun Zhongyan finally took his hand out of the box. He was holding a ball of paper in his hand. The crowd quietened down and stared at the ball of paper. Everyone knew that the name of the person who was going to compete in the first round was written on the ball of paper. At that moment, the crowd fell silent, and the atmosphere in the entire square became tense. Sun Zhongyan slowly opened the ball of paper. When he saw the name on it, his expression changed slightly. How can it be? Many people saw the slight change in his expression, and all sorts of guesses flashed across their minds. Who exactly is this person? For the first round of the Qingjiao competition's warrior competition, Tianlu Academy's representative, Sun Zhongyan paused and looked in a certain direction with a complicated gaze. Chu Luiwe. Digression. At 12 o'clock p.m., there are still 2 chapters left. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 198. Chu Luiwe. This name instantly fell clearly into everyone's ears. When Chu Luiwe heard it, she instinctively looked up. Sun Zhongyan had already unfolded the paper ball and showed it to everyone. Those who were close could clearly see that Chu Luiwe was written on it. The huge square was silent for a moment before it exploded like a bowl of water being poured into a pot of oil. Chu Luiwe? Why is it her? Didn't she just enter Tianlu Academy not long ago? Why did they pick her in the first round? But I heard that she's quite strong. Didn't she beat Chu Xianmin back then? But she's a new student after all. I think she's going to be at a disadvantage. Almost everyone in the imperial city knew Chu Luiwe. Hence, the audience was in an uproar when they heard her name. On the other hand, most of the people from Taiyan Academy were confused. Who's Chu Luiwe? I've never heard of her. I don't think there was such a person in the competition 2 years ago. She sounds like a new student. Could she be from Country Yao Chen's Chu family? Hey, do you remember that there was a rumor that Tianlu Academy recruited a new student some time ago who passed all 3 assessments? I think that's her name. Many people were stunned when they heard this. Although the three academies were in different countries and were quite far away from each other, they would pay more attention to each other's situations because they held the Qingjiao competition every year. It was already strange for them to recruit a new student halfway, let alone pass all three assessments. The students from the other two academies had more or less heard about this. Therefore, at this moment, once someone mentioned it, everyone recalled it. Which one is her? I really want to see what kind of person Chu Luiwei is. Compared to the excitement and curiosity of the others, Tianlu Academy was silent. Everyone's gaze landed on Chu Luiwei. No one expected her to be the first to represent the academy. Xiyang could not help but give her a thumbs up. I'm impressed. Your luck is truly heaven-defying. Chu Luiwei rolled his eyes and stood up. Although she didn't want to be the first one to come out, since she had drawn it, she could only accept it. The students in this area were all sitting down. When Chu Luiwei stood up, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. The originally noisy crowd suddenly quieted down for a moment. The girl was dressed in the academy uniform, without any makeup. Her hair was simply tied up, but it still couldn't hide her stunning beauty. Her arched eyebrows were black, her nose was straight, her lips were pink, and her skin was as white as snow. Especially those eyes, they were truly beautiful and intelligent, as bright as the galaxy. She was just standing there, but her entire body was surrounded by an indescribable aura that made people yearn for her, but also carried a faint nobility that made people not dare to blaspheme her. She was devastatingly beautiful, it was true. I didn't expect Tianlu Academy to have such a beauty. Her looks and aura are probably on par with Situ Xingqian's. Not only that, I feel that she's even prettier than Situ Xingqian. It's really rare to see someone with such an aura. If Situ Xingqian was like a lotus flower, pure and moving, then Chu Luiwei was like the sun in the clouds, beautiful and noble, captivating and making people revere her. If there was no comparison, Situ Xingqian was also considered a beauty. However, compared to Chu Luiwei, she seemed to lack something and seemed a little dull. Situ Xingqian was also stunned. She had almost never seen a girl more beautiful than herself. There's actually such a beauty in country Yaochen's imperial city? That person must have seen it before, right? She pressed her lips against each other and shook her head with a smile, thinking that she was thinking too much. He wasn't someone who would be moved by a girl's beauty. All sorts of gazes swept across Chu Luiwei as if they wanted to see through her. Chu Luiwei turned a blind eye to it as she walked forward and stood in front of the box. Sun Zhongyan shook his head and smiled. Lu Yu, I really didn't expect you to be the first one. I'll have to go on stage sooner or later. Chu Luiwei didn't feel any pressure and looked relaxed. Elder Sun sighed softly. Actually, he was a little surprised that Chu Luiwei was chosen, but he also felt a little lucky. No matter what, Chu Luiwei was the top warrior among the freshmen, so she definitely had the ability. As long as her opponent was also a freshman, her chances of winning would be very high. You'll pick your opponent. Elder Sun gestured at the box. Chu Luiwei nodded and reached into the box. Tai Yin Academy's students instantly became nervous. Chu Luiwei moved quickly and took out a ball of paper. She opened the ball of paper and showed it to everyone. Lei Mingwei. After a short silence, Tai Yin Academy's students immediately became excited. Lei Mingwei. It's Lei Mingwei. That's great. It's Senior Lei. It's going to be great. It's going to be a sure win. Chu Luiwei raised her eyebrows slightly when she saw how happy the people opposite her were. Who exactly is this Lei Mingwei? Why are they so confident that they'll definitely win? Soon, she saw a tall young man standing up from the front row of seats. Although he was a young man, he looked like he was in his teens. It was more appropriate to call him a young man. He was tall and sturdy, looking like a small mountain. The muscles on his body bulged, looking very intimidating. He clenched his fists tightly and bumped them hard as he laughed. Ha! I didn't expect to be the first one to go on stage. I've really hit the jackpot. Everyone could tell that he was really happy. That was because he exuded a strong battle lust from head to toe. Some of the students beside him also laughed and cheered. Old Lei, You wanted to be the first one to go on stage last time. It's finally your turn now. You have to perform well. That's right. You have to win beautifully no matter what. Senior Lei, don't go easy on her just because she's pretty. Lei Mingwei scolded jokingly. Get lost. In his heart, winning was the most important thing. With that, he strode onto the arena. Tai Yin Academy's Lei Mingwei is here to accept the challenge. Chu Liuyue's lips curled up slightly. It seemed like he was really looking forward to this match. She hadn't even moved, but he had already gone on stage. Many people from the Tianlu Academy looked worried. Lei Mingwei was born with great strength. He broke through to become a stage 4 warrior last year. Lu Yu will probably be at a disadvantage against him. We're probably going to lose the first match. Mu Hongyu was unhappy when she heard those discouraging words. She immediately stood up and shouted, Lu Yu, I believe that you'll definitely win. That's right. Smash him. Sun Wu shouted as well. Chu Liuyue's smile deepened. He only said, don't worry. Then he walked onto the stage. The two of them faced each other from afar. Lei Mingwei looked her up and down and laughed out loud. With such a small body, he was afraid that he would be sent flying with just one punch. Little girl, if you admit defeat now, it's not too late. Love Network has a better reading experience. Chapter 199. I'll return the same words to you. If you admit defeat now, I can let you go. Chu Liyue lifted her chin fearlessly. The smile on Lei Mingwei's face froze. Little girl, you're still young, but you're quite bold. Don't regret it later if you show off now. Chu Liyue did not have much patience for people who were inexplicably confident. Let's begin. Lei Mingwei frowned. He felt that the little girl in front of him was too arrogant. He heard that she was admitted to Tianlu Academy after passing all 3 assessments. It was inevitable for her to be a little arrogant. However, people with more talent were not necessarily good at it, especially martial artists, who relied on their abilities to fight. There was no room for tricks. Chu Liyue was too complacent. Alright, since that's the case, let's learn from each other. Little girl, there's a saying that goes, there's always someone better than you. Today, I'll teach you this saying. With that, Lei Mingwei spread his legs apart, bent his knees slightly, and channeled the force in his body into his fists. In the next moment, he stomped his feet and charged toward Chu Liyue. His bowl-sized fists were sturdy and strong, bringing with them a gust of wind. They went straight for Chu Liyue's face. Sun-splitting fist. A stage 4 martial artist's abilities could not be underestimated. This punch was simple and direct without any tricks, but it still made people feel a chill. He was very fast, and the distance between the two of them shortened rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Chu Liyue. That punch was about to land on Chu Liyue's face. However, Chu Liyue did not retreat. Instead, she stood there straight as if she wanted to face the attack head-on. Everyone from Tai Yin Academy looked as if they were watching a good show. Seriously, Mingwei is so merciless. What if he injures or cripples the girl? This sun-splitting fist is one of his best moves. He must be too lazy to waste time and wants to win this match directly. That's true. After all, this is the first round. We have to win beautifully. That Chu Liyue is too proud and arrogant. I'm afraid he won't be able to laugh soon. On the other hand, the atmosphere on Tianlu Academy's side was very stifling. Almost everyone's expression was grave. If Chu Liyue lost, not only would it be a disgrace, it would also greatly reduce their morale. What happened to her? He was actually not moving at all? Could it be that he intends to fight Lei Mingwei head-on? Lei Mingwei is a rank 4 warrior. Even if she got first place in the midterm assessment, she's still no match for him. So, I'm afraid it's going to be dangerous today. Chu Liyue could already clearly feel the strong fist wind coming toward her, and the suppression from a stage 4 warrior was even more oppressive. Her current strength was around that of a rank 3 warrior. If she wanted to win against Lei Mingwei, she would need to put in some effort. Lei Mingwei looked at the motionless Chu Liyue and sneered in his heart. He really didn't know where Chu Liyue got his confidence from. She actually thought she could win against him. With this punch, the match would be over. However, just as his fist was about to land, Chu Liwei disappeared in a flash. Lei Mingwei was taken aback. "I'm over here." A clear female voice sounded, and it seemed to be teasing him. Lei Mingwei immediately turned his head and saw that Chu Liwei had unknowingly moved in another direction. His mind went blank for a moment. How did Chu Liwei get past him just now? Her movements were too fast, and he didn't even see it clearly. "But, aren't you a rank 1 warrior?" Lei Mingwei was too shocked and couldn't help but ask. "I am." Chu Liwei nodded frankly and admitted it. However, Lei Mingwei had some doubts in his heart. The moment he came up, he felt that Chu Liu's aura was only that of a rank 1 warrior, so he didn't take her seriously at all. But how could a rank 1 warrior have such a fast speed? "You're lying." Chu Liu spread out her hands. "What's there to lie about? If you don't believe me, you can ask the teachers and students in the academy to see if I'm a rank 1 warrior." Everyone, it seemed to be true. It was just that Chu Liu was a rank 1 warrior who could defeat a rank 3 warrior. Seeing everyone's silent agreement, Lei Mingwei felt even more incredulous. In fact, he could feel that Chu Liu was telling the truth. But her speed, Lei Mingwei gritted his teeth and circulated the force in his body, causing his aura to soar again. Previously, he only used 50% of his strength, but now... Lei Mingwei roared and charged towards Chu Liu again. This time, his speed and strength were much stronger than before. He didn't see how Chu Liu moved and she easily avoided the attack again. Lei Mingwei's second punch missed again. Chu Liu raised her brows. "Your punch is a little slow." This sentence successfully ignited the anger in Lei Mingwei's heart. The surrounding spectators also noticed that something was amiss, and their expressions changed. Especially Tai Yen Academy. They were originally prepared to celebrate, but now, it seemed like Chu Liu wasn't that easy to deal with. This made them feel awkward. The expression on Cheng Han's face also became somewhat stiff. What kind of movement technique did Chu Liu use? "I can't tell." Sidu Xingchen looked at him in shock. "Mentor, even you can't tell?" She knew that Chu Liu could avoid Lei Mingwei's attack because of her movement technique, but even her knowledgeable mentor couldn't recognize it? Cheng Han shook his head. She didn't seem to move much, but her footsteps were light and her movements were smooth. It's obvious that it's an extremely advanced movement technique. It's even more exquisite than the ones I've seen in the past. However, the most important thing was that the cultivation of any movement technique required many years of practice. This Chu Liu looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old, but her movements were so smooth and natural that it was shocking. When did Tianlu Academy recruit such a student? Situ Xingchen knitted her brows, and a tinge of doubt flashed across her eyes. When Cheng Han saw this, he laughed out loud and comforted her. "Don't worry. She's talented as a warrior, but she definitely won't have any achievements as a Xian master or celestial physician." "You're a celestial physician. You don't have to care about such a person." Situ Xingchen nodded lightly. In the arena, Lei Mingwei's expression was no longer as arrogant as before after his 2 consecutive attacks missed. He stared at Chu Liu with a dark gaze. "I couldn't tell that you're quite capable. However, this is a competition. Are you going to keep dodging?" Chu Liu smiled and said, "That's right. You make a lot of sense. Since you've already made your move twice, it's my turn now." Lei Mingwei was stunned. "What?" Chu Liu crossed her arms and moved her wrists. A crisp sound was heard. "My skills are enough to deal with you." The moment she said that, she tiptoed, and her slender figure instantly flew out. The next moment, her hand had already cleverly locked onto Lei Mingwei's wrist. The girl's hand was slender and soft, and it was warm to the touch. However, Lei Mingwei's heart was alarmed. He pushed her back and was about to retreat. Chu Liu quickly followed up. At the same time, she pressed downwards. "Gotcha!" Lei Mingwei's wrist instantly broke. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 200. The sound of bones breaking could be clearly heard by everyone. Lei Mingwei groaned as his face turned pale from the pain. He looked at Chu Luiyue in shock and anger. "You're courting death." His other hand quickly reached for Chu Luiyue's neck. It was as though he wanted to break that slender neck. Chu Luiyue did not continue fighting and immediately retreated. He narrowly avoided Lei Mingwei's counterattack. The two of them exchanged blows for a moment and then separated. Unexpectedly, the one who was injured was Lei Mingwei. When they saw his hand hanging down in a strange position, the crowd immediately fell into a suffocating silence. Then there was an uproar. Did I see wrongly? Lei Mingwei was injured? And Chu Luiyue retreated unscathed? Lei Mingwei is a rank 4 warrior and his physical strength is extremely tyrannical. How could his hand be broken so easily by Chu Luiyue? God, I didn't see Chu Luiyue's movements clearly just now. Did you see it clearly? With this kind of strength, Chu Luiyue actually has the cheek to say that he is a rank 1 warrior. The crowd discussed animatedly and their faces were filled with shock. They thought that this was a match that was destined to end, but from the looks of it now, it was obviously not. Chu Luiyue's strength was far stronger than what they had imagined. All kinds of discussions entered Lei Mingwei's ears and made him extremely embarrassed. This was a very important first match. If he lost, and lost to Chu Luiyue who was a few ranks lower than him, he would be ridiculed by countless people in the future. And he would definitely become a sinner of the academy. How could he continue to stay in the academy? He must win. Thinking of this, Lei Mingwei gathered all the strength in his body and planned to attack with all his might. In his palm, a ball of blue force quickly condensed and then quickly transformed into a long sword. The biggest difference between a rank 4 warrior and a rank 3 warrior was that they could draw their force out of their body to strengthen their attacks. In the past, he had never thought that he would need to use such a method to deal with a mere rank 1 warrior. But at this moment, Lei Mingwei could not care about all these. There was only one thought left in his mind: win. His uninjured hand gripped the long sword tightly. Vigorous origin power poured into the sword endlessly, emitting an astonishing sword aura. In the next moment, he abruptly thrust his sword forward. Profound heavy sword. One. When the long sword fell, the surrounding air was rapidly compressed, and a frenzied energy flowed around the sword, producing a buzzing sound that could make one's ears ring. Chu Luiyue felt a dull pain in his ears, and the origin power in his body seemed to freeze at this moment. There was no way for her to dodge the terrifying pressure, and it caused her speed to drop significantly. The pressure of a rank 4 warrior was so strong. Her gaze sharpened as she looked at the descending profound heavy sword. Although there was still some distance between the two of them, this distance wouldn't affect the attack of a rank 4 warrior at all. She quickly looked around, and her mind raced. She could rely on her body movement to gain a temporary advantage, but this was just a trick. Now that Lei Mingwei had reacted, he would definitely attack with all his might. If this dragged on for too long, her origin power would be exhausted first. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. Thinking of this, she quickly circulated the origin power in her body. When the origin power surged into her limbs and bones, the pressure on her body finally lessened. Taking advantage of this moment, she immediately retreated. Want to run? Not so easy. When Lei Mingwei saw Chu Luiyue retreating quickly, he immediately understood her intentions and immediately shouted out, "Go!" The profound heavy sword immediately fell. It heavily slashed onto the ground. Clang! The sharp sword edge ruthlessly drew across the white jade ground, producing a teeth-numbing sound. In the next moment, a ball of blue sword aura suddenly flew out from the sword, and like lightning, it went along the ground towards Chu Luiyue. Everyone saw a blue light flash across the white ground, and in an instant, it reached Chu Luiyue's feet. No matter how fast Chu Luiyue's speed was, she was suppressed at this moment, so she couldn't be faster than Lei Mingwei's attack. That blue sword aura was almost at Chu Luiyue's feet. Everyone widened their eyes and stared intently at this scene. This was Lei Mingwei's crushing attack as a rank 4 warrior, so Chu Luiyue probably couldn't avoid it. Chu Luiyue retreated, but the sword aura continued to chase after her. At a certain moment, She suddenly realized something and turned back to take a look. She was already at the edge of the arena. If she continued to retreat, she would definitely fall out of the arena. According to the rules, once she left the arena, she would be considered defeated. Chu Liyue tiptoed and quickly ran in another direction. But just as she changed her direction, that ball of blue sword aura seemed to have its own consciousness and also changed its direction. It continued to pursue relentlessly. Seeing this, Gu Mingfeng, who had been silent all this while, finally couldn't help but frown. Lei Mingwei is a rank 4 warrior. Not only can he direct his force outwards, within a certain distance, he can freely control his attacks. Looks like his cultivation has already reached the middle stage of rank 4, and this huge arena should be within his attack range. From the 4th stage onwards, every stage of cultivation would be divided into the early stage, middle stage, and high stage. Lei Mingwei had already broken through to rank 4 last year, and now that a year had passed, he had successfully broken through to the middle stage of rank 4. She quickly rushed towards Lei Mingwei. In the blink of an eye, she was right in front of him. Then, she lifted her long leg and kicked Lei Mingwei's face fiercely. Lei Mingwei's huge and heavy body instantly flew out. Then, he landed heavily on the ground. A muffled sound rang out. His face became even paler and he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His eyes were wide open and he looked at Chu Liyue with unwillingness and fear. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something. However, after struggling for a while, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. No matter how strong his body was, his head was the weakest part of his body. Chu Liyue's kick had landed directly on his head. Naturally, it was a fatal blow. She raised her head and looked at the referee. She was smiling, but her eyes were flashing with cold, killing intent. It made people shudder and not dare to look at her directly. Now, can we decide who's the winner? A better reading experience came from the Love Network. Chapter 201. On the arena, the slender girl stood gracefully with a smile on her face. A gentle breeze blew, and her clothes fluttered. She looked like a painting, ethereal and moving. If one did not look at Lei Mingwei, who had fainted and was covered in blood at her feet, this scene would be quite pleasing to the eye. There was a dead silence in the square. Tens of thousands of people seemed to have lost their voices at this moment as they watched this scene in shock. Chu Liyue, what happened just now? Chu Liyue asked calmly again. The teacher in charge of the referee finally reacted at this moment. He stared blankly at Lei Mingwei, who had fainted and could no longer fight. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty before he found his voice again. The winner of this match is Tianlu Academy's Chu Liyue. A clear and powerful voice instantly reverberated throughout the square. Winner, Tianlu Academy. Chu Liyue. Every word landed clearly in everyone's ears. The crowd, who was still in a daze and in disbelief, finally woke up from their daze. Chu Liyue had actually won the first match of the Qingjiao competition against Lei Mingwei. A Stage 1 warrior had defeated a Stage 4 warrior. Even though they had witnessed everything with their own eyes, and Lei Mingwei was still unconscious on the ground, this fact was too shocking. Even after a while, everyone was still immersed in the stifling silence. We won. Liyue, I knew you were a good person. Suddenly, an excited shriek could be heard. Mu Hongyu had already jumped up from her seat, and her heart was overflowing with joy. Beautifully done. This shout immediately made everyone from Tianlu Academy react. They won. Chu Liyue won. Didn't that mean that Tianlu Academy won? Joyous cheers immediately erupted like boiling water. We won. We won. We won the first match beautifully. Oh my God, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I definitely wouldn't believe that a Stage 1 warrior could defeat a Stage 4 warrior. Ha! Chu Liyue had defeated Chu Xianmin, who was a Stage 3 warrior, back then. Now that he had defeated a Stage 4 warrior, it was normal. Ha! Previously, I thought it was a coincidence that she got first place in the warrior tournament, but now, I'm convinced. Although they didn't know much about Chu Liyue before, and even had some prejudices against her, now that she had won, She had brought honor to the academy. They were also basking in the glory, so they were naturally overjoyed. And ever since Chu Luiwei had entered the academy, the faint doubts that existed towards her had completely dissipated after this beautiful match. Being able to win against a rank 3 warrior might be due to luck, but to be able to win against a rank 4 warrior, and an intermediate one at that, it definitely proved her strength. Chu Xianmin clenched her teeth as she listened to the heated cheers. She wished that she was the one standing in the arena. Her hand unconsciously touched her neck, and the rough scar reminded her that the current Chu Luiwei was no longer the person she used to bully in the past. A sense of helplessness suddenly surged in her heart. She actually didn't know when Chu Luiwei had caught up to her and even left her far behind. The entire Tianlu Academy was celebrating. Only the small area at the front of the academy was a little different. Rong Jin was there. The people sitting next to him all lowered their heads, hoping to minimize their presence as much as possible. Everyone knew that Chu Luiwei was once Rong Jin's fiancé, and he was the one who initiated the cancellation of the marriage agreement. But in the blink of an eye, not only was Chu Luiwei not a good-for-nothing, but she had also become the most dazzling genius. Who would be happy after encountering such a thing? Rong Jin looked at the young girl in the arena with mixed feelings. She seemed to have heard the cheers as she turned around and flashed a bright smile. She was beautiful and as bright as the sun. That was all. Rong Jin's heart seemed to have been hit hard by something. He heard something in the depths of his heart sinking. It seemed to indicate some kind of danger, but he was helpless. If their engagement was still in place, then her smile would only belong to him alone. Realizing what he was thinking, Rong Jin suddenly recovered his senses and shook his head, wanting to get rid of this thought. But for some reason, that thought became more and more profound. Elder Sun stroked his beard comfortingly, and a huge rock in his heart was finally put down. Lu Yu had never disappointed anyone before. No wonder Uncle Master, who never wanted to take in a disciple, wanted to cherish her talent. Isn't it Master's fortune to have such a disciple? He laughed out loud. Lu Yu, the first match is over. Go and rest. Your name will be put back in the box. There might be a second, third, or even more matches later on. Prepare well. Chu Luiwei smiled until her eyes turned into crescents. Yes, thank you, Elder Sun. After saying that, she walked towards her dagger with light steps. After taking a few steps, she turned back and said to Tai Yen Academy's people, I didn't use too much strength. By the way, I held back a little when I kicked him just now, so it won't be fatal. You just have to take him away and let him rest for half a month. The Qingjiao competition has always been about stopping before going too far. Friendship comes first, competition comes second. I remember that. Her words almost made Tai Yen Academy's people vomit blood. You didn't use too much strength. You've already heard him like that, and you still have the cheek to say that? Friendship comes first, competition comes second? It's all nonsense. The crowd's expressions changed unpredictably. It was very interesting. Previously, they all said that they would definitely win this match, but this was the outcome. It was like a slap to their faces. Cheng Han's face no longer had the sage-like aura from before. Instead, it was filled with anger. Go and bring Lei Mingwei back. Please. The people at the side hurriedly went forward and carried Lei Mingwei down dejectedly. Tai Yin Academy's side was in awkward silence. Sun Zhongyan cupped his fists at Cheng Han and laughed. Brother Cheng Han, thank you for going easy on us. The start of the competition is already so exciting. I'm sure this year's Qingjiao competition will be even more exciting. Don't you think so? Cheng Han felt as if he had just swallowed a fly, and he was extremely disgusted. Sun Zhongyan was obviously showing off. However, he could not refute him. After all, they had lost. Brother Zhongyan is right. The best part is yet to come. After all, Cheng Han was used to seeing big scenes. At this time, a smile appeared on his face, and he politely returned the greeting. Sun Zhongyan could hear the faint disdain and threat in his words, but he did not take it seriously. Losing so badly in the first round would definitely affect their morale later on. It was impossible for Tai Yin Academy to be as glorious as last year. Chu Luiwei walked over and bent down to pull out the dagger. She raised her brows slightly when she saw the crack on the ground. This dagger that Rong Xiu personally made is really good. It seems to be stronger than I expected. Chu Luiwei kept the dagger and walked down the stage. On the other side, Situ Xingqian's eyes widened when she saw the faint pattern on the dagger. That dagger is digression. Today, Xiaoxiang's platform will be merged into the company, so from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., you can't log in to the author's platform or upload your chapters. Thus, the remaining 3 chapters will be updated at 6 p.m. and will be updated as soon as possible in February. Love mobile users, please continue reading. Chapter 202. Situ Xingqian stood up uncontrollably and stared at the dagger in Chu Luiwei's hand. Xingqian, what's wrong? Beside her, Cheng Han looked at her in surprise. He rarely saw such an expression on Situ Xingqian's face. Situ Xingqian suddenly snapped out of her daze and glanced at Cheng Han. She then realized that she had lost her composure and hurriedly sat back down. And nothing. Cheng Han is my mentor and knows me the best. How can it be nothing? What are you looking at? Cheng Han followed her gaze and saw Chu Luiwei's back view as he walked down the stage. He furrowed his brows slightly. That Chu Luiwei is a little weird. Did you see anything? Situ Xingqian knew that her mentor and she were talking about different things, but she could not explain it now. She could only hide it and smile. No, I'm just a little surprised. That dagger seemed to have been nailed into the ground. The white jade is very hard, and normal objects can't even leave a mark on it. I didn't expect Chu Luiwei to have such a sharp dagger. It shouldn't be an ordinary dagger. Cheng Han felt that it made sense and stroked his beard. You're right. Chu Luiwei is just a stage 1 warrior, but she managed to block Lei Mingwei's attack just now. Her dagger should have helped a lot. It's just that she attacked too quickly just now, and we're quite far away, so I couldn't see anything. If I have the chance, I might be able to see something if I take a closer look. Cheng Han was confused when he saw that Situ Xingqian was still a little distracted. Xingqian, you're a celestial physician, and she's a warrior. Even if it's a competition, the two of you won't meet. Why do you seem so concerned about that dagger? Situ Xingqian forced a smile. I was just curious. Mentor, you don't have to worry. Cheng Han then nodded. This disciple of his came from a noble background and was very talented. There was nothing bad about her. Perhaps she was just curious about such a small matter. Chu Luiwei walked down the stage and was warmly welcomed by Tianlu Academy's crowd. She finally returned to her seat with much difficulty and gently exhaled. Phew. Everyone is too passionate. Hee, Lu Yu, you are now a big shot in our academy. Si Yang hurried forward with a look of worship. That Lei Mingwei is a mid-stage 4th order warrior, and you actually defeated him. You're really something. Originally, they all thought that they would lose this match. Who would have thought that Chu Luiwei would win? He had forcefully won back the academy's face. Chu Luiwei could not help but laugh. Is it that exaggerated? Of course. If you don't believe me, you can ask my boss. Si Yang paused in the middle of his sentence. When he saw his elder brother's calm expression, he wanted to bite off his own tongue. Si Ting did not feel uncomfortable and nodded at Chu Luiwei. Congratulations. Chu Luiwei also smiled faintly. Thank you. In any case, the words had already been spoken, so it wasn't a big deal. Si Yang saw that the two of them didn't seem to be very awkward, so he heaved a sigh of relief and quickly changed the topic. Don't you know? The victory or defeat of the first round of the Qingjiao competition will greatly affect the rest of the competition. No matter what, you had a good start. Of course, everyone is convinced by you. Chu Luiwei didn't take this matter to heart, and her lips curled up. This is just the beginning. The following matches will only be more brutal. And she was the one who had the highest chance of being picked. However, if she wanted to get first place, this process was obviously necessary. She had to recover her force first. The second round was between Tai Yen Academy and Nanfeng Academy. Tai Yen Academy's opponent was a tall and skinny young man, Jia Yiming. As for Nanfeng Academy's opponent, it was a tall girl with a cold appearance, Lu Yining. Both of them were third-order warriors, so they were considered to be evenly matched. The people from Tai Yin Academy became more and more nervous. They only hoped that they would win this time. They had already lost badly enough in the first round. If they lost the second round as well, they would really be embarrassed. On the other hand, the people from Nanfeng Academy were happy to see Tai Yin Academy make a fool of themselves. They were eager to win this round and ruthlessly step on Tai Yin Academy's face. Both parties went up the stage. The atmosphere was tense, and a fight was about to break out. Tian Lu Academy's side finally quietened down, and their attention shifted to the competition. Chu Luiyue then felt more relaxed. She shifted her gaze and looked at Tai Yin Academy with narrowed eyes. When she went down the stage just now, she clearly felt an unusual gaze. If I'm not wrong, it seems to be Situ Xingqian. Chu Luiyue looked down and flipped the dagger in her hand. It was light, bright, and extremely sharp. There were a few peach blossoms carved on the handle. Rong Xiu seemed to like peach blossoms. The hairpin he gave me earlier was also a peach blossom hairpin. The same pattern was carved on this dagger. Actually, if one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see the pattern clearly. However, Situ Xingqian seemed to be looking at this dagger just now. That's right. Situ Xingqian's clothes also have the same cloud pattern embroidered on them. Chu Luiyue pondered for a while and suddenly smiled. Interesting. She collected her thoughts and looked at the competition venue again. The second round of the competition was going on intensely. Of course, to her, there was no point in using it as a reference. After looking at it for a while, she decisively closed her eyes, held her breath, and started to meditate. Hey, Liu, did you see how Lu Yining attacked just now? When he didn't hear Chu Luiyue's reply, he turned around and saw that she was actually, no way. She can cultivate now. Si Yang's eyes twitched. The surroundings are so noisy, and Chu Luiyue just finished a round, yet she's actually continuing to cultivate. He was about to say something, but when he saw that Si Ting seemed to be meditating, he obediently shut his mouth. Geniuses are indeed different from ordinary people. Perhaps it was because Chu Luiyue and Lei Mingwei's first round was too exciting, so the second round was much more ordinary. The two of them were equally skilled, and the battle was in a stalemate. After fighting for a long time, Jia Yiming's force was almost depleted, and he finally revealed a flaw. Lu Yining seized the opportunity and sent him out of the arena. Lu Yining won the second round. Tai Yin Academy lost another round. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 203. They lost 2 rounds consecutively in the first 2 rounds. This had never happened to Tai Yin Academy in all these years. When the judges announced that Nanfeng Academy's Lu Yining was the winner, the atmosphere in Tai Yin Academy froze. Cheng Han could no longer maintain his smile, and the aura around him froze. The students behind him did not even dare to breathe loudly. They were so glorious last year. How could they have expected to face such a situation? However, the lot drawing method was very fair, and nobody could cheat. Hence, they could not even find a reason for their failure. When Situ Xingqian saw this, she softly advised, "Master, it's just a matter of time. Master, the Qingjiao competition has just begun. We were just unlucky. It's actually a good thing that the truly capable people stayed behind." Upon hearing this, Cheng Han's expression finally looked better. That's right. It's not like we don't have anyone. Just Situ Xingqian alone is much better than us. This time I have high hopes for her. I want her to get first place in the Celestial Physician competition. Don't worry. I know what to do. In the Warrior, Shen Master, and Celestial Physician competitions, first place in the Warrior competition was the least important. Even if they did not have an advantage in the Warrior competition, as long as they could get first place in the Celestial Physician competition, they would be able to redeem themselves. Let's just wait patiently. Situ Xingqian nodded. The Warrior competition was still going on. At first, Chu Luiyue was worried that her name would be picked again. Luckily, there were many people participating in the Warrior competition, so the chances of her being picked again were not high. In actual fact, She did not go up again until evening, when the first day of the Qin Jiao competition ended. This gave her more time to cultivate in peace. After a whole day of competition, the three academies all had their wins and losses. However, after a rough calculation, Tianlu Academy, which was the least favored, had won the most. On the other hand, the previously arrogant Taiyan Academy lost consecutively and was completely defeated in the end. Some were happy, while others were sad. The Qin Jiao competition usually lasted for 5 days. The first 3 days were for the warrior competition. The fourth day was for the Xian Master competition, and the last day was for the Celestial Physician competition. On the first day, almost half of the warriors had already gone up to the stage to compete, leaving only a few who had not yet gone up and those who had won. After the temporary end of the competition, the three academies brought their students back to rest and prepare for the next day. Chu Luiyue also followed the crowd back to the academy. Walking on the bridge of Shuangqing River, Chu Luiyue almost subconsciously looked at Yifeng Courtyard. The fence of the courtyard was closed, the gate was locked, and there was no one in the courtyard. I don't know what Rong Xiao is busy with. Chu Luiyue thought of the cloud pattern on Situ Xingxin's clothes and raised his eyebrows. She had almost forgotten that His Highness Prince Li had not been in the imperial capital for many years. Moreover, he had hidden many secrets. She retracted her gaze and walked towards her residence. Just as she walked into the courtyard, she immediately realized that something was wrong, and alarm bells rang in her heart. She quickly scanned her surroundings and retreated without hesitation, intending to leave immediately. However, before she could turn around, she saw a black shadow approaching quickly. The person grabbed her wrists and quickly tied them up with a rope. The dangerous aura made Chu Luiyue's heart skip a beat. This person is very strong. I'm definitely not his match now. Without waiting for her to look up and see the other party's face clearly, that person had already brought her to the door. The door that she had locked properly when she left suddenly opened from the inside. The person behind used force and pushed Chu Luiyue inside. Chu Luiyue's wrists were tied behind her back, and she staggered and almost fell to the ground. She finally stabilized herself with much difficulty, but she heard a bang behind her. The other party actually locked the door again. Sensing that there was someone else in the room, Chu Luiyue immediately looked up. She was shocked when she saw who it was. Sitting leisurely in the room and looking at her arrogantly, who else could it be but the fourth princess, Rong Zhen? Rong Zhen? Why are you here? Rong Zhen's face revealed a tinge of displeasure. Who are you to call my name? Chu Luiyue's mind raced. According to Rong Zhen's temper, she would definitely flare up if she called her that. But now, she actually only reprimanded her. It was obvious that she had other motives. Many guesses flashed across Chu Luiyue's mind, but she didn't show it on her face. Fourth princess, please forgive me. I was just too shocked. May I know why you're here today? Rong Zhen glanced at her. Of course, I'm here for something important. Chu Luiyue looked down and smiled. Fourth princess, if you have something to say, you can just tell me directly. Why do you have to do this? You've always been sly. I don't trust you. Rong Zhen still clearly remembered the scene when Chu Luiyue handed over the bloody pearl of essence at the crown prince's birthday banquet. That thick, dirty, bloody smell seemed to still linger around her nose, making her feel disgusted. Chu Luiyue paused. She could clearly feel that the person who had just taken her in was standing behind her. She wasn't that person's match. If she acted rashly, she would only put herself in more danger. She simply controlled her curiosity to turn around and stared at Rong Zhen. Fourth princess, just say what you want to say. I came to find you personally for one thing. Rong Zhen lifted her chin slightly, looking even more arrogant than before. You were born with a damaged yuan meridian, but you suddenly recovered some time ago and even became a so-called genius. What did you rely on? Chu Luiyue understood. It was indeed because of this. She had already expected that Rong Zhen would make a move on her, but she didn't expect it to take so long. As long as you tell me who helped you and helped me recover my pearl of essence, I can let bygones be bygones. Rong Zhen's tone was high and mighty as if she was giving alms. Chu Luiyue looked at her quietly. Rongzhen was annoyed by her gaze and raised her voice. What are you looking at? I was just thinking that the fourth princess is here to ask for my help. If I didn't hear you clearly, I would have thought that you were here for revenge. Chu Luiyue chuckled. Rongzhen's face instantly turned cold. How dare you mock me? I don't dare. It's not easy for the fourth princess to leave the palace, so you must have been waiting here. However, I'm afraid I can't help you with what you're asking for. What did you say? Rongzhen stood up angrily. Chu Luiyue could clearly see that her legs were strange when she walked. It was obvious that she had broken her leg previously and hadn't recovered. Were you looking at? Sensing Chu Luiyue's gaze on her legs, Rongzhen's face flushed red. She immediately raised her hand and slapped Chu Luiyue harshly. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 204. Fourth Princess, didn't you come here today because of the broken pearl of essence? Asked Chu Luiyue suddenly. Rongzhen's hand stopped in midair as she looked at Chu Luiyue in shock. You really have someone behind you. She knew that Chu Luiyue was born with a damaged Yuan meridian and became a genius overnight after being a loser for more than 10 years. This wasn't something that she could do alone. Tell me who it is. Back then, all the celestial physician in country Yaochen couldn't do anything about Chu Luiyue's damaged Yuan meridian, but isn't she fine now? Then, as long as I find that person, her damaged pearl of essence will definitely recover. Chu Luiyue looked at the anxious Rongzhen and sneered in her heart. A damaged pearl of essence was worse than a damaged Yuan meridian. If one had a damaged Yuan meridian, then one could just not cultivate. However, the pearl of essence was closely connected to the cultivator. Once it was damaged, it would have a huge impact on the cultivator. The most direct example was that when the pearl of essence was damaged, the entire Dantian would be damaged as well. Without a complete Dantian, it was impossible to rebuild the pearl of essence even if one went to heaven or hell. It was even more impossible for one to cultivate. Rongzhen's current situation was clearly like this. If it were her in her previous life, she wouldn't be helpless. But now, she couldn't do it. Even if she could, she wouldn't help Rongzhen. Chu Luiyue looked away and seemed hesitant. It's hard to say. Seeing her like this, Rongzhen was certain that Chu Luiyue definitely knew someone but just didn't want to tell her. Tell me. As long as my pearl of essence recovers, you'll benefit from it. Chu Luiyue wanted to laugh when she heard this. Rongzhen is really spoiled. She actually thinks that she can seduce and threaten me with just a few simple sentences. Benefit? She didn't think that she was now a loser and had long lost Emperor Jiawen's favor. In addition, the crown prince had been demoted recently, so the situation was even worse. She no longer had the right to be arrogant, but she still thought that she could flaunt her power. Chu Luiyue pursed his lips. He seemed to have loosened up. Fourth Princess, it's not that I don't want to tell you. It's just that I don't know who that person is. Nonsense. Since that person cured you, how could you not know who that person is? Rongzhen went forward and strangled Chu Luiyue's neck with a sinister expression. How dare you trick me? Chu Luiyue's eyes flashed with a trace of disgust. He restrained his impulse to avoid her actions and slightly moved his body to cushion her strength. Fourth Princess, please don't misunderstand. I'm telling the truth. Ahem. Actually, I haven't told anyone about this matter. If Fourth Princess wants to know, then I'll tell you. Cough cough. Seeing Chu Luiyue's face turn red and start coughing, Rongzhen harshly flung her away. Speak. Chu Luiyue coughed a few more times before she calmed down and said intermittently, he said slowly, Fourth Princess, actually, this matter started from when Chu Xianmin sent someone to assassinate me. That day, she sent someone to capture me and bring me to the forest at the edge of the imperial city. Just when I thought I was dead, a man in a black robe suddenly appeared. I couldn't see the other party's figure or face, but from the voice, it seemed to be an old man. He saved me and even fed me a pill. I didn't know what it was back then, but when I returned, I discovered that the Yuan meridian in my body had recovered. After that, Fourth Princess, You already know what happened after that. Rong Zhen frowned after hearing this. Are you telling the truth? You don't know that person, so why did he help you? Chu Luiyue laughed bitterly. I don't know either. After that, I never saw him again. I wanted to thank him, but I couldn't find him. I'm telling the truth. If fourth princess doesn't believe me, then there's nothing I can do. There's no point in lying about such matters. Rong Zhen's expression changed, and she didn't say anything for a while. She kept thinking about Chu Luiyue's words. Although it sounded too unbelievable, if that wasn't the case, how did Chu Luiyue's Yuan Meridian recover? I remember that you bought a lot of herbs from Zhenbao Pavilion after you returned to the Chu family. What's up with those? Chu Luiyue's expression didn't change. After that person saved me, he left me a prescription. I didn't know what it was at first, but I realized later that it could be used to nourish my body. If you don't believe me, you can go to Zhenbao Pavilion and ask if it's true. I'm not going there. Rong Zhen was furious at the mention of Zhenbao Pavilion. Something clearly happened at Zhenbao Pavilion's hunting ground, but father didn't have any intention of punishing them. She still couldn't take this lying down. She thought for a while and continued asking. Tell me where that person appeared at that time. Chu Luiyue knitted her brows. At that time, I was also knocked out and brought there, so I'm not too sure what happened. Hurry! Rong Zhen kicked Chu Luiyue's abdomen. She pretended to shrink her body in fear, and the kick landed on her thigh. Chu Luiyue fell backward and hit the table. The teacup on the table fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Rong Zhen had already taken a pen and paper from the side and violently threw them at Chu Luiyue's face. Draw the location. If you can't draw it, don't think of leaving this door. A cold, murderous look flashed across Chu Luiyue's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. Okay, I'll write it. As she spoke, she moved her wrists, which were tied behind her. But can you untie this first? Otherwise, Rong Zhen shot a look at the person beside her. Chu Luiyue felt a cold touch on her wrists, and the ropes immediately loosened silently. She looked down and saw a red mark on her wrists. She picked up the pen and paper beside her and started drawing bit by bit. First, it was a lush forest, then a meandering river. Chu Luiyue lowered her head, so Rong Zhen couldn't see her expression at all. Chu Luiyue's pen moved slowly, but the terrain of the forest outside the imperial city quickly flashed across her mind. After her rebirth, she had specially researched that forest. Finally, her pen stopped at a certain spot. If she didn't remember wrongly, this place seemed to be. She lightly tapped and left a heavy ink mark on the paper. It's here. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 205. Rong Zhen picked up the piece of paper and took a closer look before frowning. She wasn't familiar with the terrain of the forest outside the imperial city, so she didn't know where the location was. However, it seemed rather remote. She pondered for a moment before looking at Chu Luiyue and scoffing. Don't think that this matter is over. After the Qingjiao competition ends, you will personally bring me there. Rong Zhen wasn't stupid. She believed Chu Luiyue's random drawing of a location for her. Who knew if she was telling the truth? Chu Luiyue rubbed her wrist and looked calm. Whatever you say, fourth princess. Rong Zhen saw that Rong Zhen didn't seem to be lying. Furthermore, she agreed to go with her, so she believed her a little. She glanced at the man in black beside her. Let's go. With that, the two of them left together. Chu Luiyue turned around and saw a blurry figure disappearing into the night. If she didn't sense wrongly, the man in black used his own strength to conceal the two of them. No wonder he dared to barge into the academy so boldly. Chu Luiyue's gaze darkened. That person's ability was at least an intermediate stage 5 warrior. There were very few people in country Yaochen who had such ability. Rong Zhen could mobilize people. A few suspicious names surfaced in her mind, but she couldn't confirm them because she didn't see that person's appearance or figure. I should find some time to investigate. What happened that night didn't attract anyone's attention. The next morning, Chu Luiyue and the others headed to Jianghu Square as usual. Compared to the previous day, there were more people in the square, and the atmosphere was more lively. The later the competition, the more exciting it was, so there were naturally more people who wanted to watch. Chu Luiwei attracted a lot of attention the moment she arrived. Countless gazes landed on her. She could vaguely hear many people discussing the battle between her and Lei Mingwei yesterday. Mu Hongyu nudged Chu Luiwei with her elbow. "Lu Yu, you've become famous in one battle. Now, even people from Huaicang and Xingluo have heard of your name, let alone the Imperial City. A Stage 1 warrior defeating a Stage 4 warrior. Such a battle record was enough to make people gasp in awe." Chu Luiwei was very calm. The competition just started. The rest of the match is up. That's right. Almost half of the contestants had been eliminated yesterday. Today, the contestants who had won yesterday would definitely be drawn. Yesterday's match wasn't satisfying at all. Hopefully, I can meet someone interesting today. Mu Hongyu had picked a third-stage warrior from Tai Yen Academy yesterday. She had won without much effort, so she was itching for a fight. Chu Luiwei smiled. Now that you're a rank 4 warrior, your horizons are naturally different. Mu Hongyu giggled. Don't I have to thank you? If you didn't lend me those 40 hours, I wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. Hongyu, the competition is about to start. Come quickly. Sen Hu, who was seated not far away, waved at Mu Hongyu. Mu Hongyu replied, Then I'll get going first. Chu Luiwei nodded and walked in another direction. She was sitting in the Xian master's seat now, so she naturally didn't sit with them. As Chu Luiwei walked, many people greeted her warmly. After yesterday's battle, Chu Luiwei was in the limelight in the academy. Many people changed their views of her and became closer to her. Chu Luiwei greeted them one by one before sitting down. But she still felt a little strange in her heart. In the past, she was the heavenly princess and had a distinguished status. Even the other princesses and princes were especially respectful to her, let alone others. At first, she felt that everyone was not close to her and was a little disappointed. However, she gradually understood many things and didn't force it. She felt that the current situation was a little strange, but she didn't hate it. She even felt a little happy. She could feel that these people really admired her, which was why they were treating her like this. It seemed that the Qingjiao competition was indeed an extremely important event to them. She looked around. Tianlu Academy's morale was high, and Nanfeng Academy looked like they were full of fighting spirit. On the other hand, Tai Yen Academy's dispirited atmosphere from the previous day had unexpectedly disappeared. Although they weren't as ostentatious as before, they seemed to have reinvigorated themselves. The competition continued very quickly. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd. Chu Luiwei looked over and realized that it was because someone from Nanfeng Academy stood up. It was a scholarly young man with a slender figure and an elegant aura. That person was Nanfeng Academy's representative, Jianghu. It's actually Jianghu. He was ranked 10th in the warrior competition last year. I'm afraid he's even stronger this year. I heard that he was only a Stage 3 warrior last year, but his actual combat power was comparable to a Stage 4 warrior. This year, he became a beginner Stage 4 warrior. We can't underestimate him. Do you still remember the situation back then? This Jiang Yuan looked refined and polite, but once he entered the arena, it was as if he had turned into a completely different person. If we go up against him? I heard that he's aiming for first place. I really don't know who's so unlucky to go up against him now. Hearing the discussions around her, Chu Luiwei gradually understood what was going on. No wonder everyone had such a reaction. Jiang Yuan was the person with the highest ranking since the start of the Qingjiao competition. Even Lei Mingwei, who was an intermediate Stage 4 warrior, was ranked lower than him. This showed how powerful Jiang Yuan was. If they went up against him now, they would most likely be eliminated. Jiang Yuan calmly walked to the box, took out a paper ball and opened it. When he saw the name on it, he was slightly stunned. Then he smiled, opened the paper ball, and looked at Tianlu Academy. Looks like my luck is really good. I actually drew the biggest dark horse this year. Once he said that, everyone understood who he was talking about. Chu Luiyue looked over and indeed saw her name clearly written on the paper ball. Her lips curled up as she stood up. She should say that her luck was good. She drew Lei Mingwei, who was an intermediate stage 4 warrior. When the other person drew her, it was also an unpredictable strong warrior. When everyone saw the confrontation between the two of them, they were shocked and then excited. They never expected that the dark horse last year and this year's dark horse would meet so quickly. Both of them had abilities that exceeded their own levels. If they really fought, they really didn't know what the situation would be like. Jiang Yuan smiled. Please, Chu Liyue's lips curled up. Then, please enlighten me. Digression. After the backend merged and upgraded, Shaoxiang's update would be delayed and could not display digressions. It was not known if it could be fixed today. Therefore, it will continue to be updated in February. As for when it will be displayed, it will depend on God's will. Crying, mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 206. The two of them went on stage and faced each other. Everyone stared at the scene nervously and excitedly. Even though Jiang Yuan is only a stage 4 warrior now, he's definitely stronger than Lei Mingwei. I think Chu Luiyue is doomed this time. I think so too. Even though she's strong, Jiang Yuan is also a tough nut to crack. I'm afraid that the dark horse of this year's Qingjiao competition will come to an end. What a pity! I originally wanted to watch her compete a few more times. I thought that she could get a good ranking this year, but it's most likely impossible now. I heard that she used to be a good-for-nothing and only became famous in the past few months. Thinking about it, her cultivation speed is terrifying. The crowd discussed fervently. An inexplicable frustration flashed across Situ Xingqian's heart as she listened. Ever since she saw the dagger yesterday, she paid extra attention to Chu Luiyue. Now that she was going on stage again, she naturally paid close attention to her. Situ Xingqian had never heard of this name before, but when she went back yesterday, she secretly asked around. This Chu Luiyue is indeed unusual. She could not help but lean closer to Cheng Han and ask softly, Mentor, is it possible for someone who was born with a damaged Yuan meridian to recover their Yuan meridian and embark on the path of cultivation? Cheng Han knitted his brows. You're talking about Chu Luiyue? He had also heard some things about Chu Luiyue yesterday, so he immediately guessed it when he heard Situ Xingqian's question. Situ Xingqian nodded lightly. Cheng Han stroked his beard. Speaking of which, it's indeed quite impossible. However, there are so many strong people in this world. If someone of that level were to make a move, it might be possible. Situ Xingqian instantly understood what he meant. No matter if it was country Yaochen, country Huaicang, or country Xingluo, they were all existences of the same level. And above them, there was an unreachable colossus. Even if she was the eldest princess of country Xingluo, she was as lowly as an ant in front of those people. But she's just an ordinary daughter of a rich family in country Yaochen. How can she do this? This was what Situ Xingqian couldn't figure out the most. Chu Liyue's family background was not bad. However, the Chu family declined and her father was seriously injured, so he could no longer cultivate. In fact, she could no longer be considered a so-called noble lady. With her status, how did she recover her Yuan meridian and become a genius? Cheng Han pondered for a long time. Perhaps she had other opportunities. Or perhaps, this kind of thing is impossible to say. Situ Xingqian bit her lips. Cheng Han saw that there was something wrong with her expression and comforted her. Xingqian, no matter how powerful she is, she doesn't have the qualifications to compete with you. Why do you have to take her to heart? Situ Xingqian forced a smile. Master, don't misunderstand. I'm just curious. Cheng Han nodded and did not think too much about it. Situ Xingqian slowly clenched her fists in her sleeves. Lucky chance or talent aside, what about the dagger? On the stage, Jiang Yuan studied Chu Luiyue curiously. He had watched her and Lei Mingwei's match yesterday very carefully. This woman did indeed possess extraordinary combat strength. Whether it was her movements or her moves, they all showed that she had rich combat experience. Pardon me for asking, but I heard that you only started cultivating a few months ago? Chu Luiwei raised her eyebrows but did not deny it. That's right. Anyway, the entire imperial city knew about this. Jiang Yuan's gaze changed and became more serious. Who can cultivate to the point where they can go against a stage 4 warrior in just a few months? Chu Luiwei is indeed a worthy opponent. She will definitely become a top warrior in the future. Seeing the change in Jiang Yuan's expression, Chu Luiwei also narrowed her eyes and secretly circulated the force in her body. Her muscles tensed up, and she instantly entered battle mode. Lei Mingwei lost because of his arrogance, but Jiang Yuan was not that easy to deal with. She flipped her wrist and held the dagger in her hand. Jiang Yuan smiled. It seems like Chu Luiwei intends to go all out with me. This is good too. Please. Then he closed his eyes and opened them again. It was as if he had changed into a different person. The gentle smile on his face faded, and he looked colder. His eyes were as sharp as knives. The next moment, the force around his body surged. Beginner stage 4. Everyone was shocked. Jiang Yuan used his full strength right from the start? Seems like he values Chu Luiwei a lot. He doesn't dare to be careless. Actually, this is normal. Everyone saw Chu Luiwei's strength yesterday. If Jiang Yuan still dares to be arrogant, he will be at a disadvantage like Lei Mingwei. Chu Luiwei is a stage 1 warrior who can continuously challenge 2 stage 4 warriors, win against one, and make the other go all out. Even if she loses this match, Chu Luiwei's reputation will still soar after the Qingjiao competition. Jiang Yuan formed a circle with his hands in front of him, and a ball of light green force gradually gathered. A faint pressure spread out from it. Chu Luiwei stared at Jiang Yuan and became more alert. The force in her body circulated quickly. The next moment, she tiptoed and dashed toward Jiang Yuan. The audience was in an uproar. They didn't expect Chu Luiwei to be the first to attack. She knew she was weaker than Jiang Yuan, but she still dared to charge forward. Was she looking for death? In the blink of an eye, Chu Luiwei was only 3 steps away from Jiang Yuan. But at this moment, Jiang Yuan suddenly retreated. He avoided Chu Luiwei. The distance between the two of them increased again. Chu Luiwei's heart sank. What's going on? Why did Jiang Yuan retreat? Is he afraid of Chu Luiwei? The crowd was in an uproar. However, the expressions of Sun Zhongyan and the others, who were watching the battle below, gradually turned grave. Jiang Yuan is indeed cautious. He knows that Lu Yu is good at close combat, so he chose to avoid him. Actually, with his strength, he would have the upper hand even if the two of them were to engage in close combat. But he didn't want to take the risk. He was determined to defeat Chu Luiwei with long-range attacks. Chu Luiwei's biggest weakness was that he couldn't direct his force outward. From the very beginning, he had been adamant on this point. He's determined to win this match. Chu Luiwei knew what Jiang Yuan was planning when he saw him retreat. He was strong and cautious. Such an opponent was indeed difficult to deal with. Moreover, there was a huge gap between the two of them. Chu Luiwei thought quickly and chased after him again. Jiang Yuan retreated again. Chu Luiwei quickly realized that Jiang Yuan's speed was about the same as his. It was obvious that he couldn't rely on his speed to get close to Jiang Yuan. Thinking of this, Chu Luiwei stopped and gripped the dagger in his hand. At this moment, a giant green ice ball had formed in front of Jiang Yuan. A chilling aura was emitted from it. Ghost Eye Heavenly Ice. With this shout, the green ice ball flew towards Chu Luiwei. Wherever it passed, a thin layer of frost condensed on the ground. The biting cold air rushed towards Jiang Yuan. Digression. The new platform is making me depressed. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 207. Chu Luiwei retreated quickly and threw the dagger in her hand. The sharp dagger pierced the ice ball. Ice shards flew everywhere. However, the power of the ice ball was extremely strong, and the dagger was only able to pierce half of it before it stopped. It was stuck in the ice ball, unable to move forward or backward. Moreover, The ice ball only stopped for a moment before it came for Chu Luiyue again. Her attack against Jiang Yuan's was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Chu Luiyue retreated again. However, the ice ball was also very fast and kept coming. Everyone had different expressions when they saw the situation. Sun Zhongyan shook his head. Jiang Yuan is indeed very strong and smart. Lu Yu doesn't have any advantage in this match. I'm afraid he was going to lose. The others looked at each other. Elder son, you don't have to worry too much. Even if he loses, Lu Yu's ability is obvious to all. Yeah, she's just a rank 1 warrior. It's already very rare for her to be able to fight above her level. Sun Zhongyan pondered for a moment and didn't say anything, but his eyes were still fixed on the arena. Did Elder Sun think that Chu Luiyue still had a chance of winning? The people behind him exchanged glances, feeling a little helpless. Even if Chu Luiyue was very talented, it was impossible for him to win against Jiang Yuan with his current ability, right? Why did Elder Sun have such high expectations for Chu Luiyue? Chu Luiyue dodged quickly, but the ice ball kept coming closer. The distance between the two was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the ground, the frost created by the ice ball reflected a piercing cold light under the sunlight. It was a frightening sight. Over at Nanfeng Academy, everyone had a confident smile on their faces. This Ghost Eye Heavenly Ice is the first skill that Jiang Yuan learned after he became a rank 4 warrior. It's also one of his most powerful trump cards. Now that he's using this skill right from the start, Chu Luiyue won't lose out. Yeah, Jiang Yuan is usually humble and gentle, but he's very decisive in the arena. He's definitely going to win this match. However, Chu Luiyue's dagger is pretty good. It actually pierced the ice ball. You have to know that when I sparred with Jiang Yuan earlier, I used the red tasseled spear made of refined iron. Even with my full strength, it only left a shallow scratch on the ice ball. That thing is a treasure. How else do you think Lei Mingwei lost yesterday? With that dagger, Chu Luiyue's combat ability. Now that the dagger is stuck in the ice ball, she is empty-handed and can't use her origin power. She is no match for Jiang Yuan. Look, Chu Luiyue is about to be caught by the ice ball. This competition should end very soon. Wait, what is Chu? The students who were teasing each other, they looked shocked, In the arena, the ice ball quickly closed in. It was only an arm's length away from Chu Luiyue's back. Once the ice ball hit, Chu Luiyue would definitely lose. Everyone thought they could see the result of the match. But just as they thought that Chu Luiyue was about to lose, she suddenly turned around and jumped onto the ice ball like a swallow. Is she crazy? The Ghost Eye Sky Ice is an extremely cold energy. Not only did she not dodge it, she jumped onto it? Does she think she can dodge it just like that? The energy in the ice ball is enough to make her suffer. The moment Chu Luiyue stepped onto the ice ball, she felt an extremely cold energy coming from the ice ball. It spread from her feet to her entire body. In the blink of an eye, her boots were covered with a thin layer of frost. If she didn't leave, she would definitely be frozen on the ice ball. Chu Luiyue quickly bent down and reached out her hand to grab the dagger that was stuck on the ice ball. Seeing this, the crowd was in an uproar. Chu Luiyue wants to take that dagger. Are you kidding me? Is this the time to care about such things? She probably won't have any moves to deal with Jiang Yuan once she leaves the dagger. But the dagger is stuck in the ice ball, and the cold energy has already frozen it. Chu Luiyue can't take it out at all. She'll only lose faster if she does this, right? When Qing Han saw this, he couldn't help but chuckle. She's indeed stupid. She actually wants to use a dagger to turn the tables? Situ Xingchen clenched her fists tightly and watched the situation in the arena without blinking. Others might think that Chu Luiyue was dreaming, but she didn't think so. It's a dagger. Chu Luiyue naturally didn't know about the noises and reactions from the outside world. At this moment, all her attention was placed on the dagger. The handle of the dagger was already covered with a layer of frost, and her hand was stuck to it the moment she touched it. The extreme coldness crazily spread from her palm to her entire body. Chu Luiyue's lips rapidly turned purplish, and her face was ghastly pale. She looked very scary, but her hands still tightly held onto the handle of the dagger. Then, a surge of red origin power surged out. It rapidly poured into the dagger. Then, she forcefully stepped on the ice ball and used the rebounding force to jump down. Gotcha! A crisp sound could be heard instantly. The onlookers were all stunned. That sound was, the ice ball cracked. Someone suddenly exclaimed in shock. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Everyone's gaze quickly gathered on the ice ball. As expected, a crack suddenly appeared at the spot where the dagger pierced the ice ball. As the ice ball was emerald green, many people didn't notice it immediately. But upon closer inspection, there was indeed a black crack around the dagger. There were countless cracks. Following the terrifying cracking sound, the crowd could clearly see that on the ice ball, with Chu Liyue's dagger as the center, numerous cracks were madly spreading. In an instant, they were all over the ice ball. It was as if it was covered with a layer of black spider webs. When Chu Liyue jumped onto the ice ball and held onto the dagger, Jianghu already felt that something was wrong. He wanted to go forward, but it was already too late. Chu Liyue's movements were extremely fast, and her strength was extremely strong. She knew that her force couldn't be directed outwards, so she purposely waited for the ice ball to hit her, and quickly poured her force into the dagger. She jumped down again, and with the help of gravity, she forcefully pulled the dagger out. It worked. Countless cracks appeared, and the dagger finally loosened. Chu Liyue didn't hesitate to stab the dagger even deeper. Boom! The power contained in the dagger instantly exploded. The gigantic ice ball also exploded along with it. Fine and sharp ice shards scattered in all directions. The terrifying impact threw Chu Liyue out. Her body flew out uncontrollably. She landed heavily on the ground. A thick smell of blood permeated between his lips and teeth. Almost at the same time, the ghost eye heavenly ice shattered. Jiang Yuan's body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 208. Dead Silence. No one would have thought that the match between Jiang Yuan and Chu Liyue would turn out like this. Chu Liyue had actually withstood Jiang Yuan's full force attack. It looked like Chu Liyue was about to lose, but in the blink of an eye, the situation had changed. Not only was Chu Liyue not eliminated, she had even injured Jiang Yuan. Even though her own situation wasn't good, she relied on her own strength to forcefully drag out the disparity in strength between the two sides into a tie. Even if both sides were injured, Chu Liyue was still the winner. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chu Liyue, who was in extreme pain, slowly stood up. She swallowed the blood in her throat and looked at her palm. Her right hand, which was holding the dagger, had been frostbitten. Because she had forcefully pulled the dagger out, her palm, which was stuck to the dagger, had been torn apart. It was now a bloody mess. The red, sticky blood slowly froze into ice crystals, which fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. Chu Liyue raised her eyes and looked in front of her. Jiang Yuan had just caught his breath. When he met Chu Liyue's gaze, his heart skipped a beat. That pair of bright eyes was now burning with a crazed desire to fight. She was covered in wounds, but she did not seem to care. There was only one thought in her mind. Jiang Yuan's heart was in turmoil. Yesterday, when she fought with Lei Mingwei, he saw it clearly. He had thought that he knew her well enough, but he had underestimated her willpower. When the ghost eye heavenly ice exploded, Chu Liyue was right beside him. The terrifying impact had sent her flying. Jiang Yuan believed that her injuries would not be any better than his. Her right hand was frostbitten, so she could not use it. But her expression was so calm, as if she did not feel the pain at all. Was this really a 14-year-old girl? Such a valiant will to fight, even he was secretly amazed. Do you want to continue? Jiang Yuan asked as he looked at Chu Liyue's right hand. Chu Liyue's expression did not change. He switched the dagger to his left hand and slowly tightened his grip. Why not? I haven't won yet, so I naturally have to continue. Jiang Yuan took a deep breath. Since that's the case, take this. Before he had even finished speaking, he circulated the origin power around his body. He opened his palm, and the green origin power quickly condensed into a long spear. The tip of the spear was diamond-shaped and extremely sharp. Then, his figure flashed and he charged towards Chu Liyue. Chu Liyue's gaze gradually turned cold, and a trace of killing intent flashed through his eyes. On the Tianlu Academy's side, before they could even heave a sigh of relief, they watched Jiang Yuan make his move. Oh no, an inch longer is an inch stronger. Jiang Yuan was an expert in guns? Then wouldn't Lu Yu be at a disadvantage? Mu Hongyu could not help but murmur. Xin Hu's eyes widened. Not necessarily. Lu Yu is so awesome. Mu Hongyu was anxious and worried. But she's already injured, and she can only use her left hand now. That Jiang Yuan is obviously not easy to deal with. Lu Yu is going all out. Sen Hu replied with a question. If it were you, would you surrender now? Mu Hongyu took a deep breath. Of course not. Then, Lu Yu would definitely not surrender. Clang. The two of them engaged in close combat. When Jiang Yuan's long spear was about to pierce her, Chu Liyue's waist flashed, and she actually dodged the attack with her waist. Then, she stabbed her left hand at an extremely strange angle and slashed the long spear. Unexpectedly, the long spear was extremely tough. Chu Liyue's attack did not break it. The spear bent exaggeratedly and then rebounded with a huge force. Chu Liyue's wrist trembled, and her hand was pushed away. She staggered backward. Jiang Yuan followed closely behind her. He went straight for Chu Liyue's left shoulder. Now that her right hand was basically crippled, as long as her left arm could not attack, this match would be over. Chu Liyue blocked the attack with her dagger. Clang. The sound of weapons clashing was extremely ear-piercing. Chu Liyue gritted her teeth, raised her arm, and attacked the tip of the spear with her dagger. It scraped the body of the spear. Sparks flew everywhere. Jiang Yuan was shocked. Looking at the speed and strength of her counterattack, Chu Liyue clearly knew how to use a spear. But she did not show it at all before this. This Chu Liyue really hid her strength well. I didn't expect you to be so well-versed in spear techniques. But today, I must win this match. As Jiang Yuan spoke, he infused the rest of his force into the long spear. King of 10,000 spears. Buzz. The long spear vibrated violently. The next moment, multiple spear shadows appeared around it. Chu Liyue's heart sank. This was Jiang Yuan's real trump card. She could still deal with the Ghost Eye Heavenly Ice earlier, but this time, she was in danger. Because those spear shadows were not illusions. They were all illusions created by Jiang Yuan's force. Most importantly, the force of those shadows was not any weaker than the one in his hand. Go! Jiang Yuan shouted and threw the long spear in his hand. At the same time, the surrounding spear shadows also flew towards Chu Liyue. In an instant, Chu Liyue was completely surrounded. Fu Yunshan nodded in satisfaction. Jiang Yuan's strength has indeed improved. Now he can summon 6 spear shadows at the same time. Although he is injured and his strength has decreased, it is still enough to deal with Chu Liyue. He had always had high hopes for Jiang Yuan, and it seemed that he would not disappoint. Hearing Fu Yunshan's words, everyone from Nanfeng Academy heaved a sigh of relief and looked delighted. Jiang Yuan is only a beginner stage 4, and he can already do this. If he is at his peak, his strength would be comparable to a peak stage 4. That Chu Liyue is really difficult to deal with, but in front of Jiang Yuan, she is not strong enough. Actually, I don't think she is that strong. She is just relying on that dagger. Now that Jiang Yuan is using his full strength, she is no match for him. How can she break through these 6 spear shadows? The person who spoke suddenly stopped talking and stared at the arena, dumbfounded. What's wrong? The people beside him were listening attentively, and when they saw his expression, they looked up impatiently. When he saw it, he was stunned on the spot. On the arena, the spear shadows that surrounded Chu Liyue suddenly stopped. They stopped in front of Chu Liyue, less than half an arm's length away. If they were just a little bit closer, they would be able to stab Chu Liyue. However, there seemed to be an invisible barrier in front of Chu Luwei, blocking them all. It's a Xian formation. Someone suddenly yelled. Upon hearing this, the crowd hurriedly took a closer look. As expected, they saw streaks of silver light intertwining around Chu Luwei's body, forming a gigantic barrier that blocked all the attacks outside. She is a Xian master. Digression, I wonder if I will go crazy today. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.